Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. Parents of trans kids in the Northwest Territories are worried about their children's future after Alberta announced changes that will limit health care for trans youth. Trans kids in the NWT need to go south for health care, and their parents don't know whether the new rules affect them. Sarah Kromolowski has the story.
My nails. Look at that.
Amanda St. Denis lives in Yellowknife. She's the mother of two trans kids, a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old.
It's stressful. It's stressful. Not only just the uncertainty about what healthcare is going to look like, but the uncertainty about trans rights and trans issues.
Her daughter is currently scheduled to have a first appointment at a gender clinic in Edmonton next month, the first step in getting gender-affirming healthcare. St. Denis is hopeful the appointment will go ahead as planned, but there are so many unknowns. Alberta plans to ban puberty blockers and hormone treatments for all kids under 16. Kids 16 or 17 will need parental consent to access those therapies. They're also banning all gender-affirming surgeries for anyone 17 and under. Chelsea Thacker is the executive director of the Northern Mosaic Network, a 2S LGBTQ advocacy organization in the Northwest Territories. Part of their work is helping trans people connect to services in the South.
Any referral directly goes to Alberta services. So if they no longer decide that they are going to provide care even to NWT residents, then we will see a wipeout of services that are available to families right now.
Thacker says that to avoid interruptions in care, the territorial government needs to start working on new trans healthcare pathways now. The Northwest Territories government told CBC that they are, quote, just learning of this new direction announced by Alberta. They said staff are working to figure out if that will affect Northwest Territories kids, but didn't have any information beyond that. As for St. Denis, she said her family is just trying to figure it out one step at a time. Sarah Kromolowski, CBC News, Yellowknife.
In Alberta, there's also lots of reaction to these changes announced by the Premier this week. Some parents there are in support of them, while many are not. As Travis McEwen reports, legal experts say the new rules could be challenged in court.
It's light work around the house for Katie Jones. But for Jones and their 10-year-old daughter Samantha, it's been a heavy couple of days.
When I had the discussion with my daughter about these new policies, I sat her down. We talked about what exactly the policies meant and how it affected her or could affect her. And then I asked her, how does she feel? She only expressed it with one word, which was angry.
Jones says the measure that would affect Samantha the most is the ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for children 15 and under.
That's going to directly affect my family and my daughter, and she's still learning who she is, and this is going to stop that learning process and growth.
And they're not the only parents and kids in this scenario. Some parents take issue with Premier Danielle Smith using the term irreversible when it comes to gender affirmation.
This is very harmful and scary for us that she may not be able to access this medication that is prescribed by a pediatrician out of the Stollery. And Ellie has been seeing this pediatrician for 2 years.
But other parents and parental groups say the measures met their concerns around the roles of schools and gender identity.
It's been overwhelmingly positive. There are a few things that I do think we would want to address at a later time, but this is, from what our parents have been telling us, a big step in the right direction.
For Jones, she says her initial reaction was a plan to move her family to another province, but she's focused on a petition and advocating for change.
So we've got more force behind us when it comes time to really attacking these policies to protect our children.
A rally will be held near White Avenue in support of trans youth on Saturday. Travis McEwen, CBC News, Edmonton.
More than 2 years after a car crash killed a well-known Gwich'in leader, police laid impaired driving charges in her death. Christine McLeod was killed in a 2021 collision. The CBC's Mano Rubarik reports.
It was a single-vehicle collision on the Nunavut Highway that left Christine McLeod dead and devastated members of the community, Now, police have charged the man involved in the crash. Toxicology results show that his blood alcohol content was at least 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood. The man was charged on Tuesday with 1 count of impaired operation of a conveyance causing death. He is expected to appear in court in March. Community members were heavily impacted by McLeod's loss. She was a former Deputy Grand Chief of the Gwich'in Tribal Council. Christine McLeod is described as a talkative and vibrant member of the community who wanted to work to help others around her. Mahnur Mubarak, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The voice recorder from the deadly Fort Smith plane crash has been recovered. The Transportation Safety Board says the data is good quality, and investigators are hopeful that means a successful investigation. Carla Ulrich has more.
Jonathan Lee with the Transportation Safety Board says the recordings from the cockpit's voice recorder were salvaged successfully. Last week, he said they were hoping to rely heavily on the recorder to determine what happened, but they were not sure it survived because of the intense fire that followed the crash. Lee says the voice recorder was analyzed on Wednesday in Ottawa.
For now, I can't disclose exactly what's on the recorder except to say that the accident was captured. The data is a good quality, and it will be very helpful to the investigation.
The TSB has been trying to transport the wreckage to Edmonton for further investigation, but that is still delayed due to freezing rain and icy conditions in Fort Smith.
So we'll be doing in-depth technical review of the wreckage here in Edmonton, and then depending on how things go with that, for example, we may elect to send the engines out to an overhaul facility for further examination.
Lee says that jet engines are complex and require specialized tools, which is why they prefer the manufacturer based in Phoenix, Arizona, to do the disassembly. But the TSB will attend the examination. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
More fallout tonight in Nunavut as young athletes try to get their passports ahead of the Arctic Winter Games in Alaska next month. As many as 70 athletes are still without a passport, which they all need to cross the Canada-US border. Now, Nunavut's Member of Parliament says her office was red flagged by Service Canada for trying to help. The CBC's Nick Murray has the latest.
Nunavut athletes who earned their spot at the
Nunavut MP Lori Idlout took the issue to the floor of the House of Commons this week, using the plight of Nunavut's athletes to highlight larger issues with Service Canada in the territory. Slow mail times, along with recent concerns with Canada Post in Iqaluit, prompted her office to help athletes since the fall. Idlout says her office helped more than 20 athletes through the process by having their applications sent to her office here in Iqaluit and then hand-delivering them to Service Canada locations in Ottawa and Gatineau. But in November, Idlout says she got a letter from Service Canada red flagging her office and banning her staff from presenting any more applications in person.
The way I understand it is that we were helping so many staff, so many applications that it seemed like it was an unusual activity from their perspective.
So we've had to get pretty creative.
Jamie Savikatuk is the coach of Nunavut's under-15 boys hockey team. The team won bronze at the Arctic Winter Games last year. As of today, 6 of his players still don't have passports to go.
I have a family member who's an adoption commissioner, and we had some kids that we had a couple kids in the communities that didn't have birth certificates, which is a requirement to have your passport. So I individually contacted my family member to go to the home of the athletes and go over all the necessary documents to ensure that the athletes get their birth certificates to apply for their passports.
Federal Citizen Services Minister Terry Beach was unavailable for an interview on this story. In a statement, his office says that they're aware of the concerns and the struggles in obtaining passports in Nunavut, particularly with the language barriers and the trouble with photo IDs. His office says they encourage Nunavut Mute to go to any one of the 3 Service Canada locations in Iqaluit, Rankin Inlet, or Cambridge Bay and use the 20-day passport processing service, which of course it does not include mailing times. Nick Murray, CBC News, Iqaluit.
There are similar challenges for Team Yukon athletes. Some are not Canadian citizens, and that means they need visas. At least 3 athletes are now racing the clock to get their visas in time. Trevor Torticlub is Team Yukon's chef de mission.
I mean, if you're not a Canadian citizen, and there's many in the Yukon, right, that are in that position where they hold passports from other countries, I mean, that's okay. There's a visa waiver program in the States that sort of identifies the different countries that are able to apply officially to this ESTA application. But there are some, if your country's not listed on that, then you have to go and fill out a B2 visa application, and that just takes a long time. So some individuals on the team have already done that or have done that in the past. Others, they might just, this might be their first time through it all. So it's a little bit complicated.
Tour de Club says if any team members are having difficulty with passports or visas, they should reach out. The Arctic Winter Games start in just 6 weeks. A pair of robots known as Tarzan and Jane have been swinging into action at St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver. That's where the Yukon sends things like blood and urine for testing. The two robots work with artificial intelligence to handle repetitive tasks, leaving the more complex work to humans. The hospital says it means lab results for Yukoners are being returned faster. Take a look.
There are two robots in the machine. One is called Tarzan and one is called Jane. We didn't name the robots. It's the company Copan that named the robots. And Tarzan really does all the heavy lifting. And then it hands over the more delicate work to Jane. They work together in parallel. And so it's quite impressive. I think you'll agree when I show it to you. I'm going to get some patient samples here. They go onto a plastic pallet. And so these are urine samples for patients who might have urinary tract infections, bladder infections, for example. And I'm going to put this onto the conveyor belt here. This is where the samples go, and the machine is going to accept these samples for processing. And the first part of the whole process is Tarzan and Jane, the two robots working together. And so Tarzan does all the heavy lifting. So Tarzan reads the barcode, it understands the protocol for processing the sample, it uncaps the sample, and it gets the sample ready for Jane. Jane takes over. She does a lot of the finer work, the more delicate work. Jane is the one that places a very small sample of the specimen onto the surface of the culture plate. She streaks it out, and then she puts the lid back on. She hands it back to Tarzan, and Tarzan puts another label onto the plate and then places the culture on the conveyor belt for the next step of the whole process. So that's the automated aspect, which is really important. But what's actually even more innovative is the digital imaging, the digital medicine. So there's a smart camera that's part of the system that takes images at time zero and over the next 6 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, depending on the incubation for the plates. And then it inserts the plate into the smart incubator, and that's where the artificial intelligence does its magic.
This is the CFBC's largest attachment, home to elite units, federal and municipal scope. Congratulations on making the cut.
Have you spoken with your father?
I'm coming for you and everyone like you.
I would rather be Baroque than blue. There's lots of reasons to not be a cop. A Surrey girl should know all of them.
Maybe you should reconsider the uniform and everything that it represents.
I'd rather fight from inside it to make a change.
Why, hello. It's me, Seth Rogen. 10 potters will be facing off in the most extraordinary ceramics competition show that this country has ever seen.
I'm Jen Robertson, and I'll be your host.
So are these potters ready?
This exploded.
To test their skills at the wheel and push themselves every week?
Oh, no.
So the ones that do stand out, they really do stand out.
And who will be named champion?
I'm excited to see it. Oh, wow!
Of the Great Canadian Pottery Throwdown.
It appears we have a mystery to solve.
You will be next.
He's dead. A murderer was murdered.
Toronto Constabulary, stop!
Here we go.
Make it mini!
I'm gonna push it, let's go.
My hands are shaking.
This is all very overwhelming.
Don't expect anything normal.
I can't believe it. I'm here.
Welcome back. It's about to cost viewers a little more to watch Amazon Prime Video uninterrupted. It's the latest streaming service to add commercials. Anis Haidari reports on why cheap ad-free streaming may be a thing of the past.
Amazon Prime Video won't be commercial-free much longer.
unless you pay more.
If I'm still paying and they're putting ads, then for me that's absolute no-go. If I'm paying money, I don't see any ads at all.
I hate having to be forced to pay to not have advertisement in my face. There's so many subscriptions, it's getting so expensive already.
It'll cost $3 more a month to avoid ads. If customers don't pay up, ads begin on Monday. Experts predict either way, it will be lucrative for Amazon.
You look at the majority of their business, which is really the e-commerce business, a grocery business, a retail business. The margins on that business are 2%. The margins on advertising for Amazon is upwards of 50%.
Netflix made similar moves over the past year. Higher prices for ad-free content. And at Bell Media's Crave, price hikes to keep commercials away.
People don't like ads, but people really don't like bad, irrelevant advertising.
But this ad exec says customers won't mind if commercials are targeted.
And if you give people the right ad at the right time, it's actually a really good trade-off for folks. Another example is the Super Bowl. Nobody likes ads, but everybody watches a Super Bowl ad.
If consumers want to keep their streaming ad-free, they may have to turn off the TV and cancel.
Because this is a kind of new thing, these companies are going to be watching the metrics very closely. And so this is now's the time, if you want to try to make a difference, vote with your dollars.
So far, those votes have led to more commercials, at least at Amazon's competitors. YouTube gained more than $1 billion in ad revenue in just 1 year. And at Netflix, 40% of new signups have also said yes to ads. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
Time is ticking to take advantage of a popular federal grant program to make your home more green. It's ending much sooner than expected, and as Kyle Bax reports, it's not just homeowners who are about to lose out. An entire industry is bracing for the impact.
The front door's wrapped up before the test begins for leaks and air pressure. It's part of an energy audit, the first step in accessing up to $5,000 in federal money for upgrades like windows, insulation, and solar.
So it was sort of a no-brainer for us.
He's among the more than 500,000 Canadians to access the Canada Greener Homes Grant program. It's so popular, Ottawa had warned late last year the money is being used up quickly, so the program is ending early, sometime in the next few months, a full 3 years ahead of schedule.
It's going to be a massive fallout because of this step, and if anything, clarity is what we're looking for right now.
The grant requires an energy audit before and after upgrades to a home are made. Without the program, many energy assessors could be out of work.
We've just increased the number of energy advisors across Canada dramatically. Millions and millions and millions of dollars were spent training new energy advisors. Let's not lose that resource of people.
Some businesses who offer energy audits say the vast majority of their sales are tied to the Greener Homes Grant.
There's no way we're going to have the amount of business for the staff that we have now if this program ends. So it's incredibly concerning.
The federal government is signaling an announcement on the program's future may come next week. For now, uncertainty remains, and it's reverberating across related industries too, which are anticipating a noticeable drop in sales this year.
The last thing we want to do is lay people off. But that's an inevitable conversation that we won't know until we actually see what happens. So there is a reality that there's going to be a lot of jobs lost.
Those in the industry hope Ottawa will extend the program or at least provide a clear timeline for when it wraps up. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
Earlier this week, a crude oil fire east of Edmonton sent plumes of toxic smoke into the air, so much so that residents in nearly a dozen communities were told to shelter in place and prepare for an evacuation. The air quality alert was lifted, but smoke and pollution remain concerns for the industry. And as it turns out, research on better tackling industrial fires has been going on this week, not far from where the tanks burned on Tuesday. Madeline Cummings has that story.
Minutes from where a crude oil tank fire flared in eastern Alberta earlier this week, scientists and firefighters are testing ways to stop smoke in its tracks. Firefighters from Lakeland College's Emergency Training Center are deliberately setting diesel fires at this remote site south of the town of Vermilion. Once the fire is raging, this cannon from Quebec company Drago Icy takes aim and sprays water with an alkaline additive toward the flames.
The idea here is that you want to burn up the soot within the flames so that it doesn't escape and form a smoke plume.
They want to neutralize the charge of the soot particles, so they burn off instead of grow. It's early days, but the scientists like what they see.
Fires are exciting, let's face it. You know, everybody loves to look at a fire, as long as you're not too close to it. But to see suddenly the smoke going away and say, hey, this idea works, you know, this was very exciting for us.
These experiments are part of a federal government-funded project. Though fires like Tuesday's are rare, they could happen again. Less smoky fires could mean cleaner air for everyone, including the firefighters who put them out.
You try and drop the black smoke out of it, so the hydrocarbon, the toxics that get into the atmosphere, drop that down, have it burn, and then it's cleaner burning. So that's, for a strategy tactic for us, that means a great deal to us, and of course for the environment.
The team is also testing different technology to better respond to oil spills. Madeline Cummings, CBC News, Vermilion.
Yo-yo temperatures have created chaotic, icy conditions in Whitehorse. In the last week, the city has seen above zero temperatures, which then suddenly plummeted to minus 20 degrees, and that is just a recipe for disaster on city sidewalks. Mike Rudick has that story.
Clark Skelton says he slipped on the ice several times already. Now ice grips are keeping him upright.
Usually kind of don't feel it, and immediately it hurts, but then when you go home, you guys start getting sore from whatever happened, and then hopefully you're okay, nothing's been strained or pulled or torn or something, so that's what you're hoping for.
Skelton says some people aren't throwing sand on their driveways or walkways, which is making his job even more challenging.
You walk slow so you don't fall, but it's not normal. When it's icy like this, it's kind of nothing kind of repairs you. The only thing you can do is put spikes on and just kind of walk like a penguin, I guess.
Trevor Mead Robbins owns Media Solutions. He says his landlord has been trying to keep the streets clear.
She was out here like a drowned rat a few days ago and throwing sand and salt, and we all pitch in.
Mead Robbins acknowledges the city is trying its best. Regardless, he says it's still treacherous just walking around. We reached out to the city about the icy conditions. It hasn't replied to our interview request. Mike Rudick, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The NWT Traditional Games Championship is underway in Yellowknife. Students are going toe-to-toe in 8 different traditional events, including the snow snake, pole push, and high kick. We went down to Sir John Franklin High School today to check it out.
Okay, next one. We are here at the 2024 Traditional Games Championships in Sir John Franklin's School in Yellowknife, Northwest Territory. So kids ages 10 to 12 are here to do some traditional games. This is probably my favorite event in TGC, which is the 2-foot high kick. I have the record back in 2017 and it's still standing. So maybe today we'll see a new record broken, and I hope I can get a picture with whoever breaks the record. I do these games by myself, but then when I come in, I'm able to watch these kids and help them develop in the way that I learned how to do these sports when I was their age. It's very rewarding.
Just seeing all the kids here from the communities. Most of them, it's the first time they've been here, and so I'm trying to get things done quick so they can go to Walmart and get some shopping done and check out the town. But yeah, a lot of these kids, the first time here, and I remember I was that age and coming here, and I was just excited to just go check out the town, and yeah, it was pretty fun. So some of them I've seen before already. They came here last year. The chaperones brought the same team, so they all remember me, and it's pretty awesome. So I just have a good time seeing everyone again, getting back together. All the officials, we have the best officials in the Northern Games, Dene Games, and great experienced crew. So they know how to do the job and make the event run smooth. So
honestly, I'm just giving them an insight on what they might be able to do in the future. And a lot of them have really good passion and motivation for the games. And so I'm really trying to increase their confidence and also get them to realize how much these games really mean to us as a people. And so I'm teaching them the importance of it, the understanding of it, and also the fun of it. And so I'm really excited for the kids' futures in these games.
Oh, just underneath it.
Still a good kick there, though. Now, if you want to take in a Yukon tradition this weekend, the Yukon Quest also starts tomorrow. It starts at 2 p.m. Yukon time at the Suncatchers in Cattery near the Dawson Overland Trail. They actually had to move the start line from shipyards because of that weather that Mike was just talking about. That's Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, you can always go to our website, cbc.ca/north. We leave you with a look at the AWG volleyball practice in Rankin Inlet. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a great weekend.
Closing this case gets you one step closer to you getting back on the squad and keeping you out of prison.
You're not a detective, you're a con artist. You have a driver's license, right?
Of course, I have 9. If you couldn't be a cop, who would you be?
Nothing. My dad raised me to be a cop. That's who I am. Stay here.
You're adorable.
You guys are making this entire station look like a circus.
He's busy trying to solve a murder. What are you doing?
Thanks for having my back.
Look at you.
Is this your girlfriend? This is not my girlfriend.
She's way too cool to be your girlfriend.
She's not way too cool to be my girlfriend.
Who's that?
He's fired!
I'm starting to think you don't know what a joke is.
You're gonna eat nothing but raw spleen. Getting into peak physical shape is 50% training, 50% diet.
Yeah.
Never occurred to me to bring lawn chairs out here. Never occurred to the Egyptians to build the pyramids until it did.
Oh! Simpler times.
Let's set you up with a lunch date.
You're deaf? I don't know. Sign.
This feels a little round.
If accessibility is wrong, we don't want to be right.
Spicy. Oh, do tell.
Breaking news. The critics are talking.
Oh, this is it.
Imagine the Wonder Years if it were written by Gene Shepard.
They twisted it all up.
Well, you can't trust a newsman. Highly recommended.
Onwards.
Onwards.
Heartwarming.
This doesn't mean I'm better than anyone here tonight. It just says it.
100% fresh.
Well, I suppose we don't need to get rid of the cable right this second.
Son of a critch.
You look like a cod gasping for air.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know.
breaking news that shapes your world.
All right.
Reporting from the scene onto your screens.
It goes on like this, and on and on and on and on.
It's news you can trust, delivered when you want, where you want. On Canada's News app. Download the free CBC News app.
What do we know
about that with Andrew Chang?
I think we can explain.
Watch free on CBC Gem.